They said you were the best in the parsec.
Welcome to
Parsec Passion, a podcast about Star Wars TV shows on Disney+. This week we're talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 6, also known as Chapter 22, Guns for Hire.
Also known as Good as Hell.
The Mandalorian visits an opulent world. With me, as always, is someone who does not have one drop of Mandalorian blood in his veins. It's Catfish. Catfish, we are only 2 episodes left, and we just had a very crazy episode. Are you excited for where Season 3 is and where it's going?
You know what, Bubba? I think I'm the most excited I've been all season. And maybe it's just a little trip up on me, but I'll explain it later. But I'll explain it maybe when I do my ratings. But Bubba,
yeah,
I see you are ready this week. There's something in you. You're excited. Usually you let me go first and then you correct me. But this time you know you're wrong, so you want to go first so I can correct you. Bubba, what was your rating for Chapter 22, Guns for Hire, a.k.a. Good as Hell?
Catfish. We're recording early because I'm about to get on a plane and fly to London for Star Wars Celebration 2023. And I just saw that episode and I think to myself, I'm spending my good American money after that episode. And so this episode, it's like the Phantom Menace. There's jokes that are corny, like Jar Jar smells a creature which is passing gas. But in Return of the Jedi, there's jokes that are silly, like Han Solo is tied up by the Ewoks and they were bringing a flame to barbecue him on, roast him on, and he's trying to blow it out. That's silly, but maybe not corny. So I am giving this episode
Finally
8 quintuple A's out of 10.
Oh, yeah, the quintuple. Wait, quintuple A's?
Annoying and amusing animated adventures.
Okay.
We say every week that, hey, this is the Parsec Passion podcast. We cover Star Wars TV shows on Disney+. We don't really cover the animated shows. And this episode of The Mandalorian was really so much like these animated shows about, hey, I've got to go do this, and I'm going to over-explain something so that the youngest viewers can follow the story. People are online are screaming that, oh, my goodness, they've made Mando into an impotent Ken to Bo-Katan's Barbie, who does everything. And there were parts of this episode that I thought were corny and annoying. But I went 8 out of 10 because, God help me, I was amused a lot of the time. I was like, okay, this is not a typical, space Western like we saw in the very first couple of episodes of Mando. This is wacky hijinks. I called it Starsky and Hutch at times, good cop, bad cop stuff. And then it ends with a really good action fight between Axe Woves and Bo-Katan. And so I know some people really didn't like this episode. I want to give my review first to say, I understand if you didn't like this episode. God help me, I was amused for a lot of it. I'm going 8 out of 10. What about you, Catfish? What is your rating for Guns for Hire?
Well, first, Bubba, I want to say I know that you said that they over-explain things in this show for children. I may still need some things explained to me. In fact, I need one big thing explained to me later on.
All right.
I also want to thank you for requesting my presence on this podcast today. Since you had to do it early, I had to do it early, which means I got absolutely zero work done today because I had to get up and watch the episode. And now I'm podcasting with you. But Bubba,
yeah,
I'm glad that I'm doing this podcast with you because you are absolutely right that you were wrong about the rating of this episode.
What?
I am giving this 9.85 out of 10, what I like to call double L's.
Wait, double L's?
Yes, and that is if you are Grogu and you are totally loving Lizzo. It's 9.85 loving Lizzos out of 10.
Wow.
Now, I was complaining about a lot of things the last few episodes. We had the serious episode. We've had a bunch of stuff. And I was complaining about, okay, this is becoming more Bo-Katan. But I also made one complaint that was completely satisfied by this episode. It's like they said, okay, this is the thing that Catfish is having a problem with. Let's quick rewrite it, reshoot it. Let's get it ready for Catfish because he's been complaining about this for 2 weeks. Bubba?
Yeah.
I said I wanted more fun. So I am not going to contradict myself here. This episode was the perfect amount of fun, balanced with a little bit of the overarching story. We achieved our third season big goal. Bo-Katan is in charge with the Darksaber. I didn't mind Grogu being apart from Din because the Grogu and Lizzo team up was hilarious. Easy money for Jack Black here, as mysteriously they made the non-actor have 90% of the dialogue between the two of them. Easy money for Jack Black, but there was lots of funny bits. It's the old Solo episode with a side quest with a little bit of the main quest, and I dug it. So many funny bits here.
Man, oh man, Catfish.
Mm-hmm.
We may be the only two super positive people on the planet, but we're being honest, listeners. We want you to be honest. We want you to tell us how you felt about Guns for Hire. Reach out to us on social media. If you're on YouTube, go down in the comments, leave us your thoughts. Are we right that this episode, God bless it, was fun? Or are we drunk because we woke up so early to watch it?
No, so much fun. Bubba, I'll just say this. There is one movie reviewer that I always disagree with. If they love a movie, I'm going to hate it. And if they hate it, I'm going to love it. So that's just what we may be, Bubba. If we love an episode, everyone else hates it. And if we don't like it, everyone else loves it. But that's all right. At least we're reliable, Bubba.
We are. And listeners, you can be reliable too by telling us what you thought. Catfish, before we dive into this episode, I want to briefly talk about a headline.
Wait, hold on. Before you do that, how can they tell us what they thought, Bubba? Well, I don't feel like we've explained this enough to our loyal listeners. You got to reach out to us.
You do
at Double PHQ on Twitter, on Insta, and it's some sort of crazy thing, Facebook.com/coolpeople/double PHQ, something like that. And that's how you reach
Catfish,
us.
do you know how often you have heard that URL to not know if I
I've heard it. I've visited it. Bubba, what is it again? This is why I need things explained to me.
Facebook.com/double PHQ. It's so confusing.
That's it. There's nothing in between.
You don't have
nothing
to
about
cool
hashtag
people.
heroes /
It's early, people. So
I love it.
I do want to touch on this briefly, Catfish. There's an article on Decider.com that asks the question, is the state of Star Wars on Disney Plus, aka The Mandalorian Season 3, a flop? And its kind of premise of this article is the good news is The Mandalorian is the biggest streaming Star Wars show on Disney Plus. The bad news is it seems more people are streaming NCIS than the latest episodes of Baby Yoda's adventures. Now, I just want to briefly say that listeners, yes, we have connections and work in the business, but these streaming ratings, you really got to take with a grain of salt. How many episodes of NCIS are there? What do you think? 200?
I don't know. I was going to say more people watching NCIS because, people love the new shiny thing.
Right. But the point is, listeners, is that let me see if I could explain it in a simple way you understand. So
thank you,
on
Bubba.
Andor, there were 12 episodes, and each episode was about 50 minutes, let's say. So 12 episodes of 50. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show, there were 6 episodes, and some could be as short as 30, so 20 minutes shorter. If one person watches all of Andor, that counts for more in these ratings than 2 different people watching all of Obi-Wan. Why? Because the one person who watched Andor watched more minutes. So it's all about minutes.
It's about viewing hours.
Right.
And in fact, I was seeing for a Netflix show, I believe it might have been Decider, it might have been somebody else that actually broke down. Here is the line. If they don't have 100 million viewing hours in the first week, they're not going to renew a show.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's so quick that, hey, you've got to get it in the first week. Is that really what the streamers care about the most? Wouldn't they really want 2 subscribers paying and both watching a 6-episode Obi-Wan? Because that makes them more revenue than one person watching all of, one subscriber watching all of Andor. I know it's a crazy metric, but that's why I don't think you should see any of these articles that are out there and think, oh my goodness, Mando season 3 is a flop. It's not. People watch this darn show. It just has nowhere near the hours you could watch compared to NCIS. I mean, give me a break.
Well, I don't know how they would actually do this. I'm sure they do this somehow. But really, for all these streamers, all they care about is, does this particular show contribute to viewer retention?
Yes.
Getting new viewers and retaining the old viewers. What they don't want is, people come on and do it for a month, like say near the end of Mandalorian, as one of our loyal listeners said. They wait until all the Mandalorian is out, and then they rent Disney Plus for a month and watch all of it, and then boom. So there's some balance between having new things come out all the time that people are interested in, and keeping those people on.
100%.
I don't know, for Disney Plus, I'm not sure what the calculation is, because I would imagine for the most part that 80% of the people who have Disney Plus have it because of its huge catalog for their kids.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know how much these kind of shows add to it. They keep the Star Wars thing. They keep Star Wars alive, since neither of us are sure they're ever going to make another Star Wars movie again.
Well, I'll find out at Star Wars Celebration, but yeah.
All of this it's a little opaque right now, and everybody's using their own, metrics. It seems to me like Apple Plus cares more about, I don't even know what they care about.
Awards. What do you think? Awards, because
sure.
they are doing a lot of highbrow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, Catfish, let's
do it.
Listeners, that's our thoughts. What do you think about these ratings? Do you care? You just want a good show for you, I assume. Let's dive into this episode, which once again, I think people are going to have trouble with, and I'll mention the parts that I found a bit corny and had trouble with, even though overall it's fun. And let's start off,
and I'll tell you when
with Romeo and Juliet of the Quarrens and Mon Calamari. Catfish, that's where the show starts off. It's a spaceship led by a character, and I may have this character's name wrong, but it sure did sound like Captain Shoggoth.
I think it was Shuggoth.
Shuggoth.
It's close enough.
She's fed a fish. And isn't that Shuggoth's surprise because she's kind of a Jehulu monster?
All I know is she is taking a cold plunge on the bridge, and that is just awesome. Everybody else is at their commands, breathing at their stations, breathing air, and she's just chilling, breathing water.
Heck yeah. Haven't you always wanted to pilot your ship and be in the hot tub at the same time and eat shrimp? You want to do it all at the same time.
This goes back to the famous from Douglas Adams series, the creatures that were in the bath the whole time, reading poetry.
Hitchhiker's Guide, a classic, something that has just as silly moments as this episode. So Catfish Moff Gideon's old Imperial cruiser pulls up behind her ship. Is Gideon coming to attack her?
Did you think, but when you saw that they were Bo-Katan's old partners, did you think, idiot Catfish somehow woke up on the right side of bed?
I thought that could totally be it, but they were real quick to say, no, we're not Imperials. We're just mercenaries. Same difference. In other words, Imperials might come and try to make you give them money or take control of your ship. We're just coming to take control of your ship and grab somebody off it. Hey.
Yeah, but we're just going to take them. We're not going to kill you or anything. But there is some great sucking up here by the captain.
Oh man.
First she's like, tell me what I need to pay. And then they're like, well, we're not, that's not us. And she's like, I intended no disrespect. She says, basic is not my native tongue. Just like, oh, I'm sorry, officer. I don't speak the language. I didn't mean to say bribe. She says, I meant to say we were not aware of the majestic Imperial presence in this section. And we will gladly hire your protection. So good. This is why this captain is successful, because of her quick verbal skills. She's just makes poor choices in love.
Well, you say in love. For her, it wasn't really love. It was a heartfelt, childish fling. Oof. And isn't this the way it always is, guys, that when you're a young guy in love, the woman you're in love with, she knows what's up and you don't. She's like, childish fling, take him, big deal. I really care for you, kid, but not enough to get in trouble. I'll let my chin tentacles caress you for a bit, but then I'm handing you over. Later, Prince. Oh, man.
Bubba, people talk about May, December romances, but this one feels more like a February, July romance. The double M
Wait, double M?
Yeah, mooning Calamari
Oh, he
seems
was.
very young. He's like a teenager, and she's like the captain of this ship. Now, the other thing I just want to just carefully bring up here is I don't want to get too on Disney, but I just want our listeners to imagine Mon Calamari and a Quarren together. Okay, I won't be any more specific. Doing it. Okay, I was more specific.
I thought you said no, it's more specific. Then you like, I don't want to be more specific. Making little babies.
Whatever. Some fish octopus babies.
Now, Catfish, the person who voiced this Mon Calamari prince, the mooning Mon Calamari, that was Tom Holland's brother doing the voice. Could you hear any of Spider-Man in this young Mon Calamari as he's being heartbroken?
Wow, I didn't know that. Does this mean? Well, I mean, this was just This is a star-studded episode. I don't think Tom Holland's brother rates a mention, Bubba.
Bubba, the kid did have a good point. He's like, hey, I thought Mandalorians were honorable. Costa Reeves says, we are, kid. All it takes is a few credits. To be honorable or to not be honorable?
I mean, no. They made a deal and they are honoring that deal. Amen. If he had given them the credits first, they would have protected the kid.
It was the kid's fault.
That's honor. It was the kid's fault. I don't know. I still think there's a power imbalance between the kid and the captain. That's all I'm going to say.
What's the oldest Quarren age difference you've had going up, Catfish? I'm pretty sure I dated somebody when I was in college. I think I dated somebody 5 years older than me. Wow. Have you had a July, September, or whatever you were saying?
I definitely dated someone, my first girlfriend in college. Well, I was 17 and she was like 23, I think.
Yeah, I was 19 and she was 24 was mine in college.
But then not dating, I was tangentially involved with like a 40-year-old interior design student.
Whoa. Catfish, this is going to be Parsec Passion Podcast After Dark when we get into this.
PPAD.
Okay, but we've got places to go, luxurious worlds, and it's Plaisir 15. And we see our crew. Now, last week, it was like, Bo-Katan, you got to reunite all the tribes. In between the episodes, it was like, Bo-Katan, you got to go reunite all the tribes. And take Mando and this cute little baby Grogu with you, too. And their droid R5. Take it, too. Have fun, Bo-Katan.
Well, what's nice here is, like you said about the over-explaining, they don't mince words. Basically, the other Mandalorians are like, and then we'll go back to Plaisir 15.
Yeah, the Axe Woves was he was very giving. He was like, yes, after we do this job, isn't that the way a lot of cops are? Like, excuse me, after I give you this speeding ticket, I got to go cover down this riot that's happening downtown. Whatever. Now, Bo-Katan, she's flying into this new planet, and she's looking at her fleet. She's looking at the Imperial ship she took from Moff Gideon at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. And she's like, it took me a long time to assimilate it.
As kids, you get the Millennium Falcon, and it's like 500 pieces, and you're like, and then you start gluing it all together, and then all of a sudden you pass out, and you wake up again, and then you get a glue habit.
No,
that didn't happen to you, Bubba?
Not quite like that. No,
okay.
No. But I love Mando here. Mando, I called him being passively aggressive, picking at Bo-Katan's scab. He's like, oh man, they won't be happy to see you. Yeah, thanks. Boy, they really left you all alone. Yes, Mando, they did. Boy, you're like the loser where they're all together hanging out as friends. Mando, stop being so mean.
Look at all their nice ships, and all you had was a throne that you were sitting uncomfortably on.
Yeah, that got blown up, right? Look at how they're living in this luxurious place of green grass. You lived on this stone rock, and it got blown up. Mando, enough. So they go down to this beautiful planet that why reclaim Mandalore? Let's just settle here. This looks nice, man. But Imperial droids are there. Their ship gets taken control of. It's like, you're going to land here, people. And then it's Imperial droids because they're black. Ooh, a sign of the evil side.
And they're very shiny and clean and sleek.
Yeah.
You know, you could say something about the Empire. They may be intrusive. They may deny you your human rights. But, Bubba, the streets are clean and the robots are shiny. And the subway service is beautiful.
Right.
Even though,
and
again,
the tube
it's only
runs
going
on
to take
time.
you where it wants to take you.
No. Yeah.
Slight problem.
Hey there. Welcome aboard. It's so glad to have you on the tube. Show me your chain code. Okay. Who are you? All right. I'm taking you right here.
Well, but this is it. Never trust blockchain. That's what I have to say to you.
Chain codes, Catfish.
Okay.
So
blockchain codes.
You know, I'm about to go to London and take the tube. This is the real tube, the pneumatic tube, to go see the leaders. And OMG, Catfish, which of these two celebrity guest stars did you notice first?
Okay, first of all, I loved your presence is requested. Did we say requested?
Right, required. Whoops, I mean we requested.
All right, well, I recognized Jack Black, and then I'd seen your notes. I followed along in your notes and tried to write in the funny stuff. You do all the hard work on this podcast, which is why you reap all the rewards. And I'm talking about financial and personal. Yeah. But then I was like, holy cow, that's Lizzo. I was going to write it down right there, but then I noticed you did notice it a little lower down. So then I was like, all right, I'll give it to him, because sometimes I have recognized people you didn't, but not this time, Bubba. You were able to recognize both Jack Black in his glorious beard and Lizzo.
Excuse me, do you mean Jack Black or do you mean Captain Bombardier?
Sure, Captain Bombardier. I mean, that is a perfect name for him. He is completely bombastic. He is having a blast. Again, Lizzo is having fun, but not as much fun, probably because they saddled her with so much damn dialogue. Right. I mean, that's just cruel. It's just cruel. Jack Black gets to like cackle and say one sentence in a very arch and pompous way, and then she's got to give all the backstory.
Yeah, I said Lizzo's Duchess. She had a lot to do. I only wish she had tried acting.
Oh, snap. Horrible.
All right, so now I may be mispronouncing it. Maybe it's Captain Bombardier.
I think it's Bombardier.
Bombardier, whatever. Well, there's an extra R there. Bombardier. Whatever. So,
Bombardier.
So
yes.
We have seen the New Republic failing in a lot of ways with their Imperial amnesty program. But I think in this episode, you're supposed to at least see, hey, you know, it does work for some people. Jack Black did work for the Imperials. He went through the amnesty program, and now he's come out of it okay. He's not an evil dude. He seems happy with his romantic partner, the Duchess. I thought that was good.
One thing that I was surprised by here is that this was pretty much face value. You know, it kind of felt like a Star Trek episode where it's like everyone is happy and everything is great. And then like behind the scenes, there's like, you know, real oppression going on. And so I thought that was going to be what happened here. It's not. It's completely different thing.
Well, there is real oppression of the droids. Do all the work. We're going to have fun.
There is. It is a utopia in some ways.
Well,
but the amazing thing is the Duchess is like, can I perhaps hold the baby, please? And Mando's like, he doesn't take kindly to strangers. And then Grogu just does a flip right into her lap. He is sold on Lizzo. He's loving Lizzo.
Or the food. I thought Grogu, well, number one, it's just perfect that Grogu, you know, do you think Grogu understood what Mando said and said, to hell with you, look at that plate of food. I'm going there. It was nice. It was nice hanging with you, Mando. Later.
I didn't recognize the food. Viewers, you can chime in on this. I thought he was just gone for Lizzo. One thing you're not aware of Grogu, and this, you know, sometimes I explain things to you. Grogu is crazy for flautists.
He probably is.
Big girls.
So, Catfish, you were saying you didn't buy any of this fake happiness. It seems like it's real happiness, but like everybody, this is the Mandalorian. This is like, wait a minute, we really haven't had anybody go tit for tat, quid pro quo with Mando all season long. But get ready, it's a classic side quest. Hey, Mando and Bo-Katan, you help us with our droid problem. We'll let you see Axe Woves and the rest.
Well, the funny thing is, and it didn't bother me at the time, and it doesn't really bother me now, but it's like they could have been like, who is stopping us?
Right.
If all your battle droids are really decommissioned and everyone's living in peace, like, I tell you what, maybe we'll think about it after we do it. But no, they get into a side quest, and I love it.
Well, Mando, it's hard to remember this, but Mando, one of his guiding principles is droids bad. And so, Jack Black, Captain Bombardier, is like, hey, we got a droid problem. We've reprogrammed all these battle droids, and yet we've got some trouble. And Mando's like, wait, what? You got trouble with droids?
Yeah.
You had me at battle droids. Let's
well,
go
that's what
them.
happens, right? There's the whole thing, and then Bo's like, I don't know, Mando, what do you think? And he's like, yep, you had me at battle droids. Let's do this.
Buddy cop movie commence. And so the first thing we got to do is we got to figure out exactly what's happening with these droids. And OMG, another huge movie star is in this, Catfish.
Holy cow, it's Doc Brown. He has truly gone back in time. Since we all know the Star Wars universe happens before ours.
Long time ago.
Finally, here he is. He appears to be, Bubba, the only human working.
Right. The captain and the Duchess were like, listen, we got all these droids. We got to use them. Nobody does any work. It's these terrible droids that keep breaking down. And then you suddenly see this poor schmuck is the only human being who has to do any work. And there you go, buddy. Welcome aboard. But wow. Does the world love Christopher Lloyd? This is great.
You know what, Bubba? He was great. But what was even greater was the slapstick cuts of the robots just going nuts, jumping in a car, in, and just crashing into the wall,
immediately crashing,
knocking, just like holding people's gifts and then just throwing them on the floor. The first one that started so good, the guy who was dumping the trash and he's just like, I can't do this anymore. This is driving me crazy.
Oh man, I love it. I thought it was hilarious too. I did have trouble with Jack Black and Lizzo, but this scene of these droids that was causing trouble, I did laugh. I'll admit it. I thought it was funny.
And what was nice, even though this is funny, this also reinforced a problem we've been having for the last couple of years. These battle droids were double Q.
Double Q.
Yeah, quiet quitting.
Oh man, post-COVID, everybody quiet quits, or post-Empire, I guess. It makes a lot of sense.
Now, Bubba, and then what happens is, what's great about this episode too is they ask the question that all of us are thinking at this point, and that is, okay, so why don't you shut the droids down? I mean, Jesus, just shut them down. And Bubba, what does our fearless leader Doc Brown say?
Why, Marty, if we shut them down, we'll have to do the work.
It just goes to show, even in Utopia, a few sacrifices must be made. Some rogue robots are fine.
Right, they wreck my car, but as long as I don't have to do any work, have at it. And so, okay, there's no help here. We see that they're causing trouble. Let's go down to maybe besides Doc Brown, the only people who do work. It's our good friends, the Ugnaughts. Now, we had Quill in season 1, R.I.P. Quill. Was it just last week in the episode The Pirate, we saw First Mate Ugnaught go down with the ship. Here, we see another room of Ugnaughts busy working. They're not afraid to work. Once again, why did I like this episode where I know a lot of people would have trouble with it? I love this scene of the Ugnaughts, and I love Quill being brought back up in his catchphrase, I have spoken. Here we go. Let's go. Hell yeah.
But though I think this is presumptuous. Like all Ugnaughts know each other. It's like if you met someone from Australia and you say, "Oh, you must know Jamie. He's also from Australia," and then you say it in that bad accent, like completely just offending them. Like all Australians know each other and all Ugnaughts know each other.
Ugnaughts, they may know each other, and they certainly you better not. You better not go on Yelp and give them a bad review because they will be PO'd. We don't want to hear any complaints about broken droids. We did our work. They work.
No, but I find this interesting here because Mando, he's smooth talking because Bo-Katan is just full on pushing their Ugnaughts buttons. He's like, there are no malfunctioning droids, I have spoken. And she's like, but these malfunctioning droids are attacking people.
No.
And I don't know why Mando has to explain to Bo-Katan that berating people is not the best way to get their help. I mean, all right, number one, he basically did say to them, like, you will help me. He was kind of berating them.
That's
but
true.
two, I mean, just Bo doesn't know how to deal with people. Option one is berate them. Then option two is berate them. And then option three is challenge them to a fight.
Well, when you hold the Darksaber, you don't get any lip. You're like, hey, these droids are malfunctioning. And then you hold the Darksaber up and all the Mandos would go, yes, the droids are malfunctioning. These Ugnaughts, they don't buy that.
Dude, feel the room.
Now, in this episode of Starsky and Hutch, there's trouble at the docks. We got to go down to the docks. We got some trouble there. And these super battle droids are working. They're moving crates. They're doing the work that they're doing the work that we don't want to do. How are you going to know
which master plan?
Which one are you going to know is the bad one, Catfish? What do you do to any upset robot?
You kick every robot on the ass until one doesn't take it.
Mando made to be a supervisor. That's what. And then it's a perp chase. The suspect is running. Hell yes. Let's go get him. The buddy cop movie, you got to chase him down. And then Mando has never been in this city before. But if I'm a cop, I know that there's a classic part in town where I could just go somewhere I've never been before, and I know I'll be able to cut him off at the pass.
Yeah, jump through a window and take them down. And then it's amazing. You know what I thought might happen? So then all the police robots come out, the drone bots, and they're like, stay out of this area, whatever. I was worried they might just like start attacking them there. That would have been cool. But that's not what happens.
Gotta find a clue.
Bo-Katan finds a clue that was on the robot that for some reason is not written in code that all the robots read, but is written in a way that both Bo and Mando can read the name and also the physical address. They are going to go to the droid bar, the Resistor. Now, Bubba, I had some questions which were answered later, but I was like, do they order, like, I would think there'd be some choices, right? It would be oil, right? So they'd have like, I'm feeling, I want something thick today, so I want like the 10W40. And today a little light, the 10W20, but that's not what happens. But Bo says, let me do the talking here. Now, she hasn't been good so far, but she does know that, Mando's animus towards droids. So she's like, I'm going to handle this. But Bubba, all the music stopped once the cops come in. And then I realized, Bubba, this is not Starsky and Hutch. It's the bar scene from 48 Hours.
Oh, man.
When Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy walk in. That's what it is.
So good. Catfish, I want to say, though, I mean, I call it Starsky and Hutch. It's every cop show. So what always happens in these cop shows? We look at the body. We find a matchbook that says, this is where he hangs out. And so it's not a matchbook. It's a spark pad with the name of the bar, the Resistance, on it. I love it. And once again, in all of these shows, actually, I was too young to really watch Starsky and Hutch, but there's always a bad cop, right? Somebody's got to be the bad cop. And Bo is like, hey, listen, we found this on a thing. Oh, I don't know that at all. Mando, if you don't start answering questions, I'll yank your memory circuit and dissect it back at the lab. Nobody leaves. You can't reason with droids. Oh, my goodness. Bad cop Mando. I love it. Once again, I'm down with silly, and this is some silly ridiculousness.
Well, and then, even though it's silly and ridiculous, the droid bartender makes this nice plea like, life was rough. We would have been disassembled here on Plaisir. We can have a second chance. And then all the robots do their own version of the robot cheering. There's more beeps and whistles than I've heard in years, Bubba.
Now, hey, another part of a classic noir detective story is, there's some bad stuff out on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this Nepenthe, not good, buddy. We got to have this analyzed. So where are we going to go to CSI Plaisir? We got to go to the morgue, another classic cop trope. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Now at the morgue, somehow there's yet another human working. What's going on? Have a droid do this stuff.
Yeah, I know. And when I first saw it and I saw the robot start to attack, I was like, well, Not for long will there be another human working in this town. You know what? The
Yeah,
people who
but
have to work, do they get something extra? Because I'm telling you, the people who weren't working, that feast they were having at the beginning. And look, I
yeah,
don't even imagine what kind of bonuses you could give for people to work in the morgue.
give me a break. Well, okay. Good news though. It
You know what,
turns
Bubba?
out
Maybe
what?
there's a human in the robot morgue, and there's a robot in the human morgue.
You listen, you need somebody not emotionally attached at the morgue. I love it. That
That's
makes
right.
perfect sense. This libation there, the droid bar, is not just a libation. There are nano droids in it that is causing people to go bad. And this drug, these nanobots, these nano droids, they can be traced back to who? Literally,
Oh
we've
my
got three options. They could be, or four options. They could be traced back to the Ugnaughts, to Captain Bombardier,
Yeah.
or the Duchess, or Christopher Lloyd as Commissioner Hellgate. Which one do you think it's going to be traced back to? Dun, dun, dun.
It's evil Doc Brown, and I don't know why.
Well, yeah, Doc Brown wasn't too evil. I was thinking Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But oh, snap, he's mad. He doesn't like this situation. He doesn't like what the galaxy has become. He's a member of QAnon. He's going to take it out on everybody. And all he has to do is press this big red switch. And all those peaceful battle droids, well, they're named battle droid for a reason. I hit this big red switch. They switch into battle droid mode. Goodbye, Plaisir 15.
Bubba, are you telling me that all these former battle droids will then go back in time to battle droids? Back in time, we'll kill your ass. Bubba,
yeah.
I gotta say, again today, we're trying to do this a little bit early. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to Christopher Lloyd's speech to try and figure out exactly what was going on there. I have to admit there was a lot of I don't believe in this. I'm not quite sure what he actually believes in, but I will go back and listen and figure out exactly what his impetus was. I don't know whether they just we could either hand wave this or we could over explain it till it's too confusing, but
let's get to it.
Okay, good.
Let's
tell
get
me,
to
Bubba.
it. Okay. So in between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, a bunch of systems who were part of the Republic were like, being part of this huge government, it's like they want to leave NATO. They're like, okay, we were part of NATO. We don't want to be part of NATO anymore. We want to back out. But the government was like, no, you can't back out, and you can't attack us as you back out. And so that led to the creation of the war that became known as the Clone Wars, where the Republic made these clones to fight the evil battle droids. And so once again, the separatist cause in the Clone Wars was, we don't want to be part of this corrupt republic. We want to be separated and on our own to decide our own fates. And the government was like, no, you can. And they were even called the Confederacy. The separatist movement was called, to kind of give you an idea in American history what that was like when certain states were like, we don't want to be part of the Union. We want to leave. Now, of course, the separatists were also attacking people. And,
are you sure this
we want to leave. We don't want to be part of the republic.
But this wasn't the war of imperial aggression.
It was, yes.
The war for separatist independence.
Yes, exactly. It's Separatist It's Separatist Remembrance Month in what state was it that just passed that? South Carolina or wherever it was. So anyway, so he's a separatist, and so he's like, the Republic, which was the original Republic, he's like, we don't want to be part of that. Then the Republic fought him, and in the process of the Clone Wars, the Republic became an empire and said, no, you don't get to be on your own. You're under me. And so he didn't like the Republic. He didn't like the Empire. And now he doesn't want to be part of the new Republic. And so he's claiming, listen, I support democracy. And then he says Christopher Lee's character, Count Dooku, was a visionary. Yeah, he was a visionary until Anakin Skywalker cut off his head. And then he didn't have any more vision anymore. Captain Hellgate says Dooku was cut short in his prime by the Jedi Enforcer. Oh, man. Holy smokes.
But let me say two things here. One, I like your explanation. I don't understand why that means he needed to destroy this independent world. They seem pretty independent here. I don't understand what he's going to start a revolution here and then take all these robots somewhere else. That's still part of it. I don't exactly buy.
They'll never get their luggage or presents. These New Republic people.
I will say this. Not only was Count Dooku cut short, but also Christopher Lloyd was cut short Bo-Katan has her own version of skip ahead, and that is, I'm done with your monologue, and just takes him down. That was beautiful.
Right. And then the capper to it, she's like, politics.
Love it.
Like those listeners who don't like it when we bring up politics on the podcast. Bo-Katan had the same idea. Now, meanwhile, Grogu, the true star of this show, he's really not been doing too much in recent episodes. What he's actually doing is helping the Duchess cheat at some version of space croquet.
So good. It's so amazing. I just love how impish she is here again. I didn't mind him being apart from, because this is just some funny bits. Grogu and the Queen. Let's do this. Let's do a spinoff. Grogu and the Queen. And then they bring Helgate in, and he
has a callback.
Yeah, he says, if that isn't the Quacta calling the Stiffling slimy. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and that was a big one. Boba Fett said it in the book of Boba Fett. I think somebody else said it. So, we've got Dank Farrik, and we've got this classic Quacta calling the Stiffling slimy saying. So good.
And then just amazing. Again, Jack Black had no more than one line at a time to say, and he's like, he pouts. I had a feeling you hated me. But then the Queen... It doesn't take down the commissioner. She just says, okay, you're exiled to the moon of Paraquat. Okay. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Right. The moon can be a separatist base. There you go. Separate the moon. There you go.
And then the heroes get the key to Blazir. And Bubba, I looked at that thing and I'm like, damn, where are they going to store that? That thing is
Store
huge.
that. They are throwing that. That is going on galactic eBay immediately.
It could be, Bubba, I do have a cookie decorating party every year, and everybody gets a gift, and it's just crap that I accumulate over the year. Sometimes I try to get some really horrific stuff. This would be one thing I would give it away. I'd be like, listen, for those of you who love to travel, here's your key to Blazir.
Well, okay, they did a huge service. They stopped these droids from going crazy. Nobody has to work. The droids will still do it. Everything's great. But then apparently somebody did something more than to stop the evil droids.
He was cute as hell.
So Grogu is given a knighthood under the ancient order of independent regencies. Dude, this is some crazy ass.
That's what you get, Bubba. Sometimes, like, some people do all the hard work, but it's the cute people who get all the rewards, and Grogu is nothing but cute.
Nothing but cute. And then in the show notes, I put, finally back on the main storyline, Bo-Katan approaches this group of Mandos. So it's not just the two Mandos we had seen her with before, this Axe Woves guy and Casca Reeves, but like there were a lot of people there. They're all hanging out. They're actually like tossing a ball around. They're having a great time there.
Too bad they weren't training.
And Bo-Katan shows up. I've come to reclaim my fleet. Ooh, snap.
Man. But Axe is like, I'm now in command and grown quite fond of it. Now, Bubba, this is where you go, oh yeah, big man? Do you have one of these? And you pull out the key to the city. You're just like, boom.
Right.
You can't say nothing to that.
Give me a break. So, once again, we've had this ridiculously silly and I think very fun storyline. But then suddenly, we're back in it. And we're like, Bo-Katan is like, dude, to hell with this. I challenge you. You think you're the leader now? I'm the real leader. Step into the octagon. Let's get going. To me, this was some great frigging action. This was a great fight. This could have, honest to God, I think you could have had this fight go on even longer. It was so fun. It was so thrilling. They're using their Mandalorian weapons. They're using their jetpacks to fight. This was a good darn battle. And I bet everybody who probably tuned out after the ridiculousness of the droid and Jack Black storyline, this is probably what they wanted. I thought this was wonderful. Wonderful.
Bubba, I just don't understand what the rules are to this thing. I mean, you can fly, you can use you can shoot, you can hog tie. But I want to know if Bo-Katan had the little birds, could she have used those? Because that would add things super quick. Also, one thing to note, she's like, "Will you yield?" She says it twice, and then he's like, "No, this isn't right." He doesn't even have a drop of Mandalorian blood in his veins. And then she stands up and starts making a speech about how all Mandalorians should be together. And Bubba, I just want to note here, he never officially said, I yield. So I assume he could have got up and like clanged her from behind.
Of course. Even if you're stronger than I am, which seemingly I thought this fight was okay. Whoever wins the fight is the true leader. But apparently that had nothing to do with it. He's like, okay, you beat me. You're 100% stronger. But that's not what decides. What decides is who wields the darksaber. That's who we follow.
Now, Bubba,
you don't have it, lady. I'm not following you.
Before we get into that, this is the thing that you're going to have to explain to me.
Okay.
That I probably should know doing this being my 22nd, at least, podcast about The Mandalorian.
Right.
Din isn't really a Mandalorian?
Catfish, when we first met these characters in season 2, meaning Axe Woves, Bo-Katan, and Kassianides, they thought that Mando was like a crazy cultist. Like they thought he was they just thought he was a crazy cultist, and he's one of those.
They're Mandalorians.
Right. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And so perhaps the show is not really explained it. Perhaps there's the infamous foundlings, right? Like, oh, you're a foundling. I'm a foundling. You're a foundling. Perhaps there's some Mandalorians who are like, you can't be a foundling. You have to have been from Mandalore. You have to be from our planet. You can't be from somewhere else. And so maybe that's what they're going on. And that's a real stone cold thing to say, if you ask me.
Well, that really is, because I didn't assume that the whole foundling thing was just the crazy cultists.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad that it wasn't fully explained and that I just missed it and you were just going to be like, get out. I'm going to stop paying you for this. All right. So, Bubba,
no
what
paycheck
happened
this week for sure.
So then what happens next? Then we
then
of course, we got the one last piece.
Axe Woves is like, listen, you beat me. You're stronger than I am, but you don't have the darksaber. This bozo has it. And then Mando's once again like, here, take the damn darksaber, Bo. And Axe Woves is like, or no, this is actually Bo who points out the way this thing works is that, listen, the darksaber is not a gift to be given, no matter how well intended. But Mando is the one who's like, there's a technicality here. It's not really that I'm giving you a gift. It's that she defeated an enemy that defeated me, and she took the darksaber after I lost it. Would it not belong to her? Sure.
I mean, it makes sense to me, but then my question is, why are you still holding on to it, bro? If this was a real thing and not something you just thought about like 2 seconds ago.
All right, hold on. So I get into a fight with a baseball bat against a guy, but he takes the bat from me. Then somebody comes and takes the bat from him and knocks him out. So now it's their bat?
Well, that's the way that it works. I think the only technicality here is that the dark blade, that's exactly how the dark blade works, by the way. Okay. Someone takes it from somebody takes it from that person, somebody takes it from that person. I think the technicality here is that he lost it during the fight. Yeah. It didn't get taken from him, and then Bo-Katan challenged that creature for it.
Okay.
But still, he's technically right that the difference here, he kind of dropped it on the floor. And my only question was, why didn't Bo-Katan take it? But I guess, she's still stuck on the technical thing. I have to take it from you rather than like,
right.
Well, you sucked. But
do you take the end of this episode that group of Mandalorians, which did leave her high and dry in between season 2 and season 3, are they convinced now? Are they like, well, okay, I guess she does have it.
I think so, but just based on all the people in the background looking at each other and going, I think that makes sense, huh? What do you think? Well, no, I kind of agree, I think. No, there was nobody going, I don't.
I needed somebody in the back to say, should I tell him I also have a darksaber? I got this one over here off eBay. What should I mention that?
So he hands it to her. She takes it. Boom, there we are. Third final objective achieved this season.
All right. So, hey, we've talked about the episode, listeners. Once again, we really do care what you think. And if you didn't like it, hey, write to us. We want to hear why you didn't like it. If you loved it, if you're like us and said this was really fun, once again, let us know you are part of the journey of the Parsec Passion podcast. And we also want your feedback on some of these fun distinctions and honors we give out. We're giving out our own key to the city and our own knighthood with our twadorable and grogorable moments of the episode, Catfish. What do you got for chapter 22?
Love it, Bubba. First of all, the reason why this episode was on the double L loving Lizzo scale is because or I could have called it cute as hell, because all of the Grogorable moments have to do with Grogu and Lizzo. First, his reaction to Lizzo and Jack Black being in love. He's like, oh, that's the way I feel about my Mando. And then his flip for Lizzo. I still think it was for Lizzo and not for the food. But then at one point he was getting scratched by Lizzo and he was grunt purring is what I called it. He was like, but then Grogu mischievously helping Lizzo cheat. That was also amazing. Bubba, do you want to go on the off the board, or do you want to pick one of those?
I have to choose him flipping to Lizzo right after Mando's like, no, he doesn't like strangers. He doesn't take too kindly. Whoops. Like literally, Grogu should have done that while Mando was saying it. Like, I'm sorry. He's afraid of strangers. There's no way he'd whoops. Oh, there he goes. I loved it. That was so cute, so Grogorable, wonderful moment from our co-star Grogu.
My favorite Grogu is Rascal Grogu, so I'm gonna go with when he's trying to hug the Anzellans, or when he's trying to eat the frog eggs. So Grogu helping Lizzo cheat, that's my Grogorable moment of the episode. Bubba, and this is one of the reasons why I love this episode. I've got so many Mandalicious lines. I've got only a couple that are badass, but here are the funny ones.
Let's hear it.
The funny ones you just mentioned. It's not a line, but it's an action. He doesn't take kindly to strangers. Flip. Mando, you had me at battle droids.
Heck yeah.
Mando, see what happens when you rely on droids.
Oh, man.
Bo, any of the droids look suspicious? Mando, they all look suspicious.
Dude, get over it, Mando.
Bo, you kicking droids is really not helpful. Mando, I figured out which one was malfunctioning, didn't I? Bo zaps Doc Brown and then says politics. And then the delivery of Jack Black. I had a feeling you hated me. Those are the funny ones. Here are the two bad ones. Badass ones. Axe saying, sadly, you're too late to hire us. And Double N mooning Mon Calamari. I thought Mandalorians were honorable. Casca, we are a kid. All it takes is a few credits. So that's it, Bubba. What is your Mandalicious line of the episode?
The one that LOL'd me was Bo's simple politics after she takes care of Hellgate. Loved it. Once again, why am I high on this episode where I see so many people online upset and being like, Jon Favreau, I trusted you. I laughed at politics. I did. I got to give it up.
All right, that is a great one, but only because of the callback to a famous movie line. It's Mando's, you had me at battle droids. I just love the funny reference. That does it for me. All right, Bubba.
We have grief beefs where we're angry at something in the episode. We also have good griefs, something that we celebrate just like we love to celebrate grief karga. Catfish, I'll go first with my grief beef. And it is that somebody wrote this, and I should credit them, but I've lost exactly who said it.
Okay.
The costuming on the people there at the palace in the dining room and playing their croquet. The crazy costuming in Coruscant, for whatever reason, I didn't mind back in the episode about Dr. Pershing, where they were like, I don't know if it's Empire or Republic. What does it matter? Like that costuming was rich elitist snobs. And to me, that worked. This costuming, and once again, I don't know who said it online. To me, it looked like Marvel stuff. Like if you look at stuff in some of these Marvel films where there's real colorful, crazy stuff. And so the costuming didn't feel very Star Wars-y. I even think I might have appreciated some of the Canto Bight type costumes we saw in The Last Jedi over these. So it's a ticky-tack thing, but to me, costumes were too over the top. So that's my grief beef for this episode.
All right, I'm just going to push back a little bit on that by saying Look, what else do these people have to do? They don't have any work. The only thing that they can do to sort of like show off or whatever is to, be more of a cockatoo than other people. So that's why it didn't bother me.
Okay.
This is a special. I think right away, it definitely was not Star Warsy, and right away I got an idea like, wow, there's something definitely different happening here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it was a positive. But
Okay.
for me, mine, again, these don't have to be big, and mine is really ticky-tack. I admit it's ticky-tack. It's the car for the robot name that's written in English. They don't even need to scan it. It makes no sense, but whatever, no big deal. That's just that was the only
The
thing I could come up with.
resistor
Bug.
is trying to reach out to different clientele, so there
Yeah,
anybody
you can
could
see
use.
how happy they are to have a non-robot in that bar.
Right. Like the guy's like, Jesus, everybody orders the same thing. If only there were some damn humans and other aliens in here. All right, well, let's get to a good grief. Catfish, I'll let you go first on this one. What was your kind of big positive from the episode?
Well, I'm assuming, I haven't seen any feedback, but it sounds to me like you're seeing some feedback that's not so great. And I imagine part of it is that there's so many cameos in this episode, so many big cameos. And for me, that's part of the reason why I loved it, because it's like, all right, this is just going to be wacky fun. I mean, whenever you have Jack Black, like, you can bring in Tim Meadows, but Tim Meadows is no Jack Black. So we're just going to have fun. And then you got Lizzo, which is just out of left field. So for me, it's like, I'm sure that bothered some people, but for me, that's what I loved about it. It's just like, okay, we're just going to have wild fun here. And that's what I've been asking for. So that's my good grief. What about you, Bubba?
Well, the regular battle droids who speak in that Roger, do this in that real kind of cartoony robot way that Lucas had him speak in The Phantom Menace. The fact that they're back, a bit like how Peli Motto here on this show. I'm like, the first time I'm like, boy, this is kind of corny. But Peli's been around so much, I've come to love Peli's attitude. When I first saw the battle droids in The Phantom Menace with their Roger, yes, stop. What are you doing? I was kind of anti them, but seeing them, I've like Peli Motto. I've grown to love their silly antics. So I was really happy to see battle droids back on screen in a Star War.
I love it, Bubba. All right, that leaves us with our Bounty Hunter Guild battle of the week, Bubba. And I don't know, do you want to go off the board with something that you have, or do you want to go on the board?
Okay. I think we need to answer this question because it's one I think a lot of Star Wars fans online amongst themselves are having, Catfish. So let's hear it.
All right. Is season 3 of The Mandalorian, alternate title, Bo-Calorian, more Bo-Katan focused than the Boba Fett series was focused on The Mandalorian?
Everybody always loves to mention that the Book of Boba Fett was 7 episodes long, and 2 of the 7 episodes were all about the Mandalorian. Now, he and Grogu were actually in a 3rd episode, but it was about everybody. So, but 2 of 7, it was all about Mando, and Boba Fett didn't appear in one of them, and in another one, he kind of maybe had one line. Yet this show, the focus of this show since episode 2, has really been on Bo-Katan. Now, I've grown to really like this character. I'm not a huge fan of Bo-Katan from the animated shows, but I'm okay with it. We've had feedback from listeners who say, yeah, okay, this season's really about Bo-Katan and her journey. Mando's journey, once again, I keep saying it every week, got wrapped up in episode 2. He's kind of been an assistant to other people's journey in all the other episodes, and the main person he's an assistant to is Bo-Katan. Now that she has the Darksaber, this is definitely about her, who's seen the mythosaur leading people back to Mandalore. This is her season. I understand why people might get frustrated on it, but I'm okay with it. And it's definitely, because now we're on episode 6. This means there have been 4 episodes, which are generally focused on Bo-Katan's journey. And heck, Bo-Katan was a big part of episode 2, so maybe this is 5 episodes because Mando was captured. So I'm going, this is Bo-Katan's season, and it's way more her season than her taking over the Mandalorian show than the Mandalorian took over Boba Fett, because that was really only 2 episodes. That's my math deciding skills. What says you?
Well, Bubba, since I agreed with you last week, I cannot agree with you again this week. So here we go.
Here we go.
The reason why this show is not more Bo-Katan than Boba Fett was Mandalorian was because by the time the Mandalorian showed up, people were ready for Boba Fett's story to be over. They were ready for him to be completely sidelined. And so because of that, because nobody cares about Boba Fett and we'll never see another episode of that series, The Mandalorian overtook that series so much that it killed any chance for Boba Fett to come back. And that will not, The Mandalorian will not be shoved aside by Bo-Katan's continuing story.
Well, Grogu couldn't. I think Mando could be, but there's no way Grogu could be shoved aside. He's got to show up. He's a part of this show.
Well, they're a team unless, again, it's just going to be Grogu's experiences with the Queen, playing games,
the Duchess,
winning everything. All right, so that was what we said. Once again, share with us what you think. At Double PHQ everywhere. And apparently it's just Facebook.com/Double PHQ. It's less complex than I imagined it was. You can hit us at Instagram, on Twitter. Just let us know what you think, and we will share with it, as we're going to be doing very soon. But we cannot do that in true conscience until we first hear from Quintuple M.
Quintuple M?
Yeah. Matt Murdock's Mandalorian musical analysis. So let's hear that
in that extra M.
I did.
Bo-Katan, the Bo-Kalorian series continues. Whatever you want to call it, the storyline is definitely all about Bo this season, which makes me worry that she's going to die. Regardless of that, Joe Shirley is also using a lot of things musically to indicate Bo. Some of these we've talked about before. For instance, there is the main motive that seems to represent her directly, like this. Also, possibly part of this same theme, but just a little bit later on, is another motive. And these usually get used separately from each other, but they may be part of the same theme, for all I know, because I haven't heard a full composition of this. But it sounds like this. But at the end of this episode, we definitely got the Bo-Kalorian theme by combining the Mandalorian main theme with that second motif, like this. There are some interesting little changes here, such as you'll hear major chords in there. Normally in the Mandalorian theme, we don't. But the pulse is there, that bass line that we're used to associating with the Mandalorian. It even started with those little flute thingies before we got into that part, right? So it's definitely a combination of the two themes. One thing that I also like is how it hung on a chord at the end that isn't really resolved. It's a major chord, which major chords tend to make us feel happier. But in this case, it needs to actually resolve back to the root, and it doesn't, which means, is there tension here for Bo-Katan? Is there a sense that this story isn't finished, which is what I likely suspect? But it was beautifully done. Combine all of that together, and what you have is the Bo-Kalorian theme. And that's all I've got for this week. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. We're recording early. That means Matt had to record his stuff early, like he always does.
And yet you guys can find him. Still managed to agree with you, Bubba, about the Bounty Hunter Guild battle. He was prescient. And that's good. He's going to need a little support because he's going to get dinged up in the comments, which are coming right now, the feedback.
Yeah, he's also going to get dinged up when Moff Gideon shows back up. That'll ding him real tough. So because we're recording so early, we only have one bit of feedback on this episode, episode 6, Catfish, and that's from our good buddy Levi Ventura, who's at sweet_tortilla on Twitter. Levi gave us feedback on episode 6, and Levi wrote, "Couldn't help but fall asleep halfway through." Zzz. Wow.
Holy
Levi.
cow.
And Levi also, a little earlier, had given us feedback on episode 5, saying, while episode 5 was lackluster, I enjoyed Vane the pirate, the Cockney pirate. So Levi's having trouble, and that's a shame because Levi, I met at the infamous Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel and Experience, and he was dressed up as a Mandalorian with the sweet Mandalorian armor, and now he's kind of had trouble these last couple episodes. That's tough.
Well, someone's not enjoying this becoming about Bo-Katan,
Right.
and I see that. Bubba, what other kind of feedback do we get on episode 5 from any wind instrument?
Okay, well, no problem. Piccolo 800 on
thank you.
YouTube. Piccolo wrote, "They have to take back Mandalore because Grand Admiral Thrawn, who we've only heard mentioned once on The Mandalorian back in season 2, but Piccolo says they have to take Mandalore back because Grand Admiral Thrawn is around Mandalore, and he's going to see Phoenix Squad as well come out and help take it back with the Mandalorians, and he's going to see Sabine Wren, another character from the animated show too, and so they have to do it." Now, Piccolo writes, "I'd like to see Boba Fett return and end up helping take back Mandalore. He owes Din Djarin one, right? Well, Din, he helped out Din a bunch, and then in the Book of Boba Fett, Din really helped him out, so this is a good point." And so Piccolo writes, "I think Boba Fett might just help anyway. He believes one of these coming episodes will go back to Tatooine, and he doesn't think," we asked last week, is the armor shady saying, 'Hey, Bo, take off your helmet'?" He says, "I don't think anybody's shady. These are scattered people trying to reunite. Boba Fett is a foundling. He's a Mandalorian. He was raised by Jango Fett. I think it's reuniting the people is the end of this season.
Okay.
But he does think this villain, Grand Admiral Thrawn, will be on Mandalore."
Ooh. And we finish with one of our most loyal listeners,
Yes.
at Patman23, Pat Spinagle. He says, "It would make less sense to introduce a big villain other than Moff Gideon, since they've spent time establishing his antagonist role to Bo-Katan and his evil interest in Grogu.
Oh, yes.
Gideon's a good villain." He says, "I respect," and then is there a question mark in there? No question mark. "I respect Matt Murdock, but I have to oppose his viewpoint in this one area." He also says, "I was wondering why Catfish was so against the Whigs, but it's
The
probably
political
because,
party Whigs.
Yes, the Whigs are helmet-on proponents, and I'm famously helmet-off." He says, "WHIG Whig is probably an acronym for the helmet-on response to seeing an unhelmeted Mandalorian, and that is, what? Helmet is gone? Those are the Whigs."
Wow.
Pat Man, you figured it out. I mean,
He did.
Not many people could figure out why I hated the Whigs, but there it is. Pat Man, you can't fool Pat Man.
Wow, you cannot. Catfish, there are only 2 episodes left in season 3 of The Mandalorian. Next week, you and I will be recording together. Whoa, we'll be in the same place and not this online podcasting we've been doing. This is crazy.
It'll be amazing. It'll be you and me and the dogs in person.
Thank goodness. I was worried that they wouldn't be there. Listeners, we say it so much you're probably sick of it, but we do want to say, if you want to give us iTunes reviews, Spotify reviews, Podchaser reviews, it's always helpful. If you want to tell your friends about the ridiculous silliness you hear on the Parsec Passion podcast, please do. If you have comments on this episode, we apologize for recording early and not being able to read them on this podcast, but that means we're going to get it out early. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. For everybody here at the Parsec Passion podcast, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And I'm Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67. And we will talk to you next week on...
I had a feeling you hated me. Parsec Passion.
Parsec Passion.